Hey YouTube, how many of you have actually sat back and thought about what would happen in the event of an emergency, how you would react to certain things? The reason I say this, right now we are at the peak of hurricane season. I believe it's the month of August, September are the two most active months. And already through my hurricane software, I have seen that we have had a lot of named storms that didn't make it into the Gulf. Quite a few, and a lot of them have gone by and people don't even realize it. I think we're up to 6 of them now, and that's within a 2-month span. So how do your plans stand in the event of a disaster when the lights go out? Are you ready to deal with that? Being out in the country where we are, we're far away from town anyway, so we have to provision our household for a month worth of food every month. So there's always, until you get to the end of the month, there's always a month's supply of food in this house at any given time. It slowly dwindles down as time passes. But we also, I made a deal with a friend of mine, and he watches this video. We're in an emergency. We have about a month's supply of MREs for 2 people and a half a month for 3 or 4 people if need be. That fills in the gap when the supplies get low here if something should happen. But it's never touched. I'm scared to eat it. But hey, as a last resort, you know, it's that or starving to death. I will eat it because it's old as the hills. It was the rations from Ike, which were already a couple of years old when they were bought during Ike. But I had to actually discard some because they had gone down the tubes, but the others still look like they are intact pretty good. But seriously, you know, are you prepared if something like that happens? Are you ready for a situation? You have to look at some other things, you know. What about the long haul? I already know we're not going to be so lucky in the long haul just yet because we're not provisioned for an extended interruption of food and whatnot. Have the electricity handled, but the food is another situation. Does your property have a well on it, or do you get city water? We have a well, but we still need to provide electricity to keep the pumps operational, which is also being handled. I'm looking for a larger generator to turn the cistern pumps, but we can get water out of the cistern with an inverter because that little motor only draws about 6 amps on the jet pump. But to bring the water up from below the ground, you got to have at least 1,500 watts to run the airlift. So these are things you have to think about. If you live in a city, where do you get your water from? Where do you get your food from? Do you have a way to hunt for food? We live on 5 acres, which is mostly forested. There's lots of squirrel and rabbit and small game and birds. So for about, for a while, if we run out of our provisions, we do have the ability to hunt. And people around here do hunt. If you've got acreage out here, people hunt on a regular basis. You can hear 22s and other things going off. It's a pretty regular occurrence here. But, these things you got to consider. The other thing and the harder thing you have to consider is when you look at your pet, can you make the decision when your food runs out and you have nothing else? Do you consider your pet a viable food option if you're starving to death, you and yours, or your family? That's in the old days. The reason you had a dog on the wagon train was when all the other food ran out, the dog was your last resort. And if you think about it in the proper frame of mind, your pet is there to protect you. Your pet is there to maintain your well-being and make sure you're okay, that you survive. That's what a dog does. That's what it guards you. And in the end, the ultimate duty that your pet can perform is to provide you with last resort food, to keep you alive if necessary. A lot of people get squeamish about this, But really, if you think about it, that's the ultimate duty that your pet can perform to you. Not that I would say, oh, we're out of food, let's chop them up and eat them. No. That's like if you were not going to live another week. That's when you start thinking about that. You can't afford to get squeamish when survival is at stake. The people you're with. Now this is something. You should take a look around at your friends and your family and the people that you are around. And this is not paranoia, this is practicality. What skills do they have? Are they going to be a benefit for you, or are they going to be a hindrance to you when you and yours are trying to survive? People you think are your friends, you better really soul search very carefully about them, because sometimes when people get desperate, they'll screw somebody else that they've known for years. You know what I mean? You know exactly what I mean. If you've known anybody, and there's been quite a few, even in today, peacetime or common situation, how many people have you known that have screwed you over or screwed somebody else over when they started running out of money? I know several in my life that have done that to us, that I don't really count among my closest circle anymore. And if the shit hit the fan, we're gone and they're staying. So, who do you keep and who do you cut? What skills do they have? Things that you got to consider. And this is even in a hurricane. The ability to gather food is one. The ability to gather water is another. People who can help you with that are good. People with electrical skills. If the power is out, can you get alternative power running? Because let me tell you, you think that electrical isn't anything? The way Americans are these days, if you turn the lights off in a neighborhood, and I saw this during Ike, electricity has become every bit as important as food and water in the modern age. Simply because most modern houses, everything in them runs on electricity. Everything. You don't have those old technologies that ran by hand power, and even if you did, how many people know how to use all that old stuff? It would be a complete gap in skill, and it would cause the death of many, many people. So don't discount going without electricity. Educate yourself in the use of older technologies to keep yourself alive. When the well quits working, and if we couldn't get electricity, we'd live on the cistern, but we would have to acquire some kind of mechanical pump, or we would have to build a solar distillation unit to pull water from the ground through the upper layer. Which also requires materials and know-how. The best people you can have with you that are your friends are people who know these skills. Also, when you have a group, you'll always do better than an individual. I believe small communities should pull together, and the people with skills should have a high value because they're going to provide for the people that don't, unless the situation gets really bad and you have to start making cuts. But if you get your community involved, then you don't have to shoot every person that comes down the road trying to steal your food, because everybody is taking care of everybody. The community stands or the community falls. It goes back to, those old sayings by the Founding Fathers. United we stand, divided we fall. So, but that's a different story, My thoughts here are, in a short-term situation, at least have yourself a month worth of food, backup food, stored somewhere. Don't tell everybody you've got it, because you're probably going to need it. Just choose wisely whom you have in your group and whom you don't. It's like I said, when people start getting desperate, all kinds of shitty things start happening. And that's just from life experiences, and also from watching what happened during Hurricane Ike. I'll grab my coffee over here. It's like I said, just have yourself a plan. An unprepared person is a dead person, or is a dependent person. And when you have a lot of other people that are having to provide for themselves, the dependent people take the back burner. or they take no burner at all, if you get my meaning. The other thing that happens, and I saw this during Hurricane Ike, when I was away from the house with Craig, I went up to the Army-Navy surplus store. And up there, they have MREs and things for sale. The FEMA drop point was just 4 miles down the road from there, but you wouldn't believe all the people that when they think you have something that they're entitled to at the minute the first shit hits the fan. You don't give away what you've put back for yourself like that when there's a place just down the street that's giving it away anyway. You know, why should I give this to you so that I starve? But every one of those people in those damn Volvos and Beamers and all this other crap and these bling cars coming down the street wanting people to give them stuff. You know, the sense of entitlement. Watch out for individuals that think they're entitled to shit. You know, they could turn out to be a problem. There's no entitlement. If you didn't prepare, then you basically are on the mercy of the people that did, and whether they will give you a little or not. So, just, you know, there are people who have good principles and they will share if they have it to share, but only very few people around here know that I have anything. In fact, none on my street know that I have anything. I have a couple of family members that do, but then my family, most of them prepare, so, you know, we might give you a little water or maybe a little bit of food and send you on your way, but you ain't going to come here and eat us out of house and home. You know, we've put back for our own.